Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. You're watching Woman Carrying Man, and today, Woman is carrying Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We saw this last night. We haven't said anything about this to each other. As always, I tried talking afterwards, and you tackled me and said don't speak about it. And
tackled him with a knife.
Anyways, what?
Shouldn't say that.
I mean, I was excited about the multiverse, but I will be honest, I was way more excited that Sam Raimi was directing, another horror movie in a way. And I was really surprised that it really embraced the horror genre in a lot of fun ways.
He would keep saying, do you know that he directed the Evil Dead?
Spider-Man and Evil Dead?
Yeah. And I'm like, yes, I know. Oh, he directed Evil Dead and Spider-Man. I know. And all the time. So I know you were very excited for it. And we had a really good movie experience, I thought.
Yeah, we did. How was your experience with the movie? What are your impressions of the movie? How would you rate it? How does it compare to other Marvel movies? How does it compare to the first Doctor Strange movie? And how does it stand alone as a movie itself? So why don't you let me know, what are your thoughts? All non-spoiler section. We'll do non-spoiler later, but go ahead. Tell me, what are your thoughts?
I actually loved it. I thought that the characters were really enticing to watch. I really liked Doctor Strange for multiple reasons. I really liked his character changes and also the deep analysis of who Doctor Strange is. I also liked how Wanda called Doctor Strange out a lot of times in the movie for hypocrisy, lack thereof. We'll get into that. I really liked how much it was just kept moving, from one scene to another. It was
very fun. Yeah.
It was very fun. I felt like there was never a dull moment. If you haven't already predicted by now, I recommend it 10 out of 10 for me, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really high up there. I really liked it. So what are your thoughts and how would you rate it?
High 7, low 8.
You are such a low rater compared to me.
But I really loved it, and that's a really high rating because I'm comparing it to all the best movies ever made. So I know there are a lot of people who disliked it. They think that the script wasn't the strongest. I don't think the script was the strongest. There have definitely been better Marvel movie scripts. But I thought for what it was trying to do, it really achieved it. And I loved how it subverted some expectations, especially regarding the multiverse, especially regarding some cameos. And I know that the Marvel fans were really eager to see all the cameos in the world in this. And we'll talk a little bit about how that played out. I thought they did that in a very fun way. But most of all, I was really excited and I was just really thrilled by the clever directing, very, very imaginative, especially action. There were very imaginative action scenes, fighting scenes, the choreography, and just the filmmaking in general was very kinetic. It had a lot of energy. I mean, as much as I love Spider-Man No Way Home, which I personally think that's probably a better movie or better script than this movie, I think No Way Home is just overall a little better, but I do think that when you look at the directing in No Way Home compared to the directing of Multiverse of Madness, it's totally different. There's so much energy, creativity, and weird quirks and personality going on that was very identifiable as Sam Raimi. So people who are saying that Sam Raimi was hampered by Disney and by Marvel, I think there was a lot of him in this movie. Obviously, it's still a Marvel movie, and those parts were sometimes annoying. I personally thought there were some lousy quips and some cringy dialogue, especially in the beginning, and attempts at humor. I thought some of the humor, especially in the beginning, was okay, whatever. We've seen that. But when it
was so funny.
No. But later, when it was Sam Raimi humor and it was just dark and just funny comedy, horror, I thought that was great. I was laughing at all of the scary parts. I thought it was so good. I totally got with the vibe, trying to bring back the spirit of the Evil Dead in a fun way.
Yeah.
And bring it into a Marvel movie. And it just, the creativity of the powers and those kind of things. There were far-fetched elements, whatever, but it was just fun and kinetic. The action was fantastic. Probably my favorite action in a Marvel movie.
Yeah. I think we should rewatch the Evil Dead, especially the second and the third. And then compare it to the directing of this in the future. So watch out for that.
I love the Evil Dead movies. How does it fit on in the rest of the Marvel movies for you?
Well, I think it stands out because I think Marvel is progressing and actually getting into more than just a superhero movie. Just like what you've stated, it's more horror action filled.
I feel they're giving it more personality.
Yeah, exactly. And I really love that. And I know I got a lot of comments about, Batman and Marvel being boring. And that's why I actually am a very biased Marvel fan, is because...
You mean Batman and DC being boring?
Well, yeah, I got a lot of hate about that.
Right, when our review.
Yeah, but, I'm sorry, but I feel like like Doctor Strange is his own character, but Marvel continuously improves and continuously puts more dynamic elements to their characters through comedy, through dark scenes, through action scenes, and I just don't see DC doing that. I don't know if I can compare it to like No Way Home from Spider-Man, because I felt like that movie and this movie stands out different.
It's
just
different.
different.
They're very different tones.
Different, yeah.
Very different everything.
It's very different tones. That one more was typical Spider-Man, at the same time, like not in typical Spider-Man, because different Spider-Mans from different universes collide. This one, because there were so many comedic, horror-ish action sequences, I really liked the way it went. I also felt like I was genuinely surprised at who the villain was. I was genuinely surprised at how far the villain wanted to go, and I was genuinely surprised at different elements that they came together, which honestly I want to talk about so badly in the spoiler section.
I will say that this is one of the few Marvel movies to me that gets better as it goes along. For me, a lot of Marvel movies have, and a lot of people talk about this, have great first, second acts, and then the third act has to do the typical, like, generic bad guy kind of thing. But for me, it just got better and better. The beginning was actually kind of like, I was not really into it. But once it just let loose and it started throwing in all these weird elements, and the more chaos that came into it and the more wacky stuff, I just love it. It was sort of campy and goofy. Like, I know there are a lot of people who are going to be like, well, not a lot of this makes sense, and it was just all over the place and just going from one thing to the next. And I was like, yes, I love this. But I also felt like I knew what the stakes were. I knew where the energy was. I knew I cared about what happened to the characters. Doctor Strange still isn't my favorite character. I just don't connect with him personally that much. I thought the new characters were great. I thought America Chavez, she was fantastic. Like, it was a thin story somewhat, but that's not what it was about. It was about, like, having this, like, cool shit happen.
I felt like the beginning, I was fine with it. So the beginning, just to kind of clarify it on my end at least, it starts out with a typical Marvel movie with typical Marvel jokes, but then it really changes as soon as... It
becomes really dark.
Yeah, it changes really fast in a lot of sense as soon as, like, the villain is introduced and more, the actions kind of overlap each other in different scenes.
It becomes like the Terminator, and I will elaborate on that in the spoiler section, but in a way, it just occurred to me, it was like the Terminator.
Well, you know what? Let's get to the spoiler section.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And why don't you explain that? In what way was it like the Terminator?
Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, goes
is the
full
villain.
Evil. And there are a lot of people who say it was kind of like retconning the end of WandaVision, where it seems like she gets some emotional closure. But I think that this is honestly kind of more of a fitting progress for her character overall, because she is basically the villain in WandaVision completely. She does some horrendous stuff in that show.
It's just with Wanda's perspective.
And I don't think she's just going to be healed at the end. Just like at the end of this movie, I don't think she's healed at the end. I mean, it's implied that she dies, but I don't think she's gone. But I think she's going to come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, I think the reason why she wasn't healed, I mean, if you look at the end of WandaVision, you can see her reading the Book of Spells and kind of going into dark turn. So this kind of like perfect continuing story of that is that even Doctor Strange says it, she reads this dark book, the Book of the Dead, right? Mm-hmm. Or I forgot what the book is, but she reads this dark book. Anyone is able to be corrupted by that spell. Even when you go to different universes, when Doctor Strange goes to different universes, he finds that he himself, the different versions of him, got corrupted by the same book. So it's not necessarily Wanda really being evil. It's more so her wounds justify the evil actions that she's performing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of empathy shown towards her too, and we get a lot of scenes from her perspective, which were really well done. But I do want to elaborate that she basically is like the Terminator, she's coming after America and Doctor Strange is trying to save her. So once it becomes like this cat and mouse, like chase movie, and it becomes like intense, there's a lot of energy, like she's after them. There's some wonderful moments where she's totally underestimated by especially the Illuminati. So let's talk about in one of the universes they go to, because Wanda wants Wanda wants America's powers because America can travel to multiverses and Wanda wants to go to a universe where she can have her kids. Okay, understandable. We got our character motivations. Great. Now we're chasing through the multiverses, and in one such universe, Doctor Strange visits the Illuminati. They're like the people in control. Also, we learned that Doctor Strange in multiple universes basically sacrifices America, gives her up to die. In all the other universes, Doctor Strange is a selfish son of a bitch, and America is understandably not trusting of this universe's Doctor Strange. So he kind of has to prove himself that he's a good person, and I think that's a good character arc for him, you know?
That he's not the same version.
He's not the guy he was in the first movie. Yeah.
Yeah, who could have probably been the same character as other movies.
Who'd be like, yeah, screw you, like, we have the universe to save. But they go a different route, and in the end, you know, America comes to trust her powers and believes she's not a monster, and Doctor Strange helps her come to that realization. I actually thought the story was quite simple and nice, you know? I think people were expecting something out of this world, like, complicated, but it was a very simple, like, hunt.
But it was very interesting, though, when they go to different universes, when they're traveling, they go through they become cartoons in different universes.
Well, very briefly, yeah.
Yeah, and then they become, very briefly, they go through different ones, and the one they land on, the first one, is where they have the Illuminati.
Yep.
And I thought that was a very interesting dynamic. Why don't you talk about that?
All right. I love this because what I was expecting was like, okay, they're teasing other movies, so let's see, which in a way they are, but it was in a very unexpected way. They have the Illuminati. It's supposed to be this great thing. So there's some other new superheroes we haven't seen, and then we see the big, you know, cameo everyone's talking about. John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I think he will be playing Mr. Fantastic in the upcoming movies. He'll probably be directing it too, knowing him. But I'm fine with that. I think that's fine casting. And I'm honestly really looking forward to Fantastic Four movies because I really liked those movies growing up. And then they have Professor Xavier, and that was really nice to see. And they're talking about, you know, what they had to do to the Doctor Strange in their universe because he got corrupted by the dark magic book or whatever, so they had to kill him. And they're like, hey, you know, you are susceptible to this book, you know, you will end up doing the bad thing ultimately, so we just are letting you know we don't trust you. Doctor Strange is like, hey, just so you know, Scarlet Witch is coming and you are totally unprepared. You need my help. We need this book. And they're like, please, we'll handle whatever villain from your universe. So they go out there, and it's Captain Carter too, right? They go out to fight Wanda, who at this point, she's like walking through glass. She's like the Terminator, just unstoppable, killing everything in her path.
She
brutally.
looks so scary.
Yeah, I know.
She
did
looks
such
like
a good job.
Freaking zombie.
She did such a good job, but she brutally murders all of them, just like crushes their skull. She shreds Mr. Fantastic. She cuts Captain Carter in half with her shield.
Yeah.
Or it's implied that she does. You know, you don't see all the blood or
no,
anything.
It's pretty strongly.
It's stronger
implied,
than most Marvel movies.
It's pretty obvious that she cuts her right now.
Yeah. So what I love about that is they have all these big cameos, and I'm sure we weren't in an audience like this, but I'm sure in most audiences there was cheering when they were introduced. You know, Professor Xavier and Mr. Fantastic and all that. They were like so happy, and just for like 5 minutes later, for all of them to be brutally murdered by Wanda was so funny to me. I was laughing so hard. It was so great that they did that, I thought. And it also displayed just how powerful Wanda is and upped the stakes even higher and made her an even scarier villain, that she becomes like this unstoppable force. In the end, they can't stop her. You know, at the very end, she ends up just kind of giving up because she sees in her kid's eyes. Well, so in the end, what happens is that America is able to use her powers, and she shows a universe where, and Doctor Strange kind of tells her, like, hey, show her. She needs to see this. And she shows what her kids in another universe, and they look at the Scarlet Witch. They don't see her mom, they see the Scarlet Witch and are terrified, you know. Wanda has a change of heart, which I thought was kind of cheesy, but especially at the point where she's at, where she's just like beyond help.
Well, they cry for their real mom and not the Scarlet Witch. And the Scarlet Witch, Wanda as the Scarlet Witch, was going to kill their real mom, a different version of her in a different universe, so that and then they can just like pretend, she can just pretend that she's actually their real mom. So I think it breaks her heart because she realizes that they don't want her, they want their real mom. You know, I thought it was a great redemption time for not just Wanda as a Scarlet Witch, but also Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange the previous or a different universe version of him, who is friends with America, who dies, he was going to kill America to take her power away because she couldn't control her power, but Doctor Strange trusted America to control her power. So you can see that Doctor Strange also learned his lesson from not his predecessor, but different versions of him, that he doesn't want to end up like them. He ended up not being the typical Doctor Strange. He ended up being the better Doctor Strange. Yeah. So, yeah.
And of course, he's a zombie at this point, which just made it so much better.
Oh my God, and we have to talk about that more deeply.
Let's talk a little bit about when he's in the universe that's kind of dissolving, when he meets the dark version of him who has the eye in his forehead, because he's trying to get the book from him. That bad book. The bad book, yeah, the evil book. That scene was so great and so creative to me when they're using musical notes to fight each other, and like the throwing music at each other was so fantastic and all so creative and brilliantly filmed. And then Doctor Strange, we laughed so hard at this point when Doctor Strange possesses himself in the other universe, because Rachel McAdams' character is like, but there's no version of you in that universe that you can possess in order to get there. And he's like, no living version or something. I forget what he says, but it was so funny. And then he's possessing this zombie and ends up like using all these demons, and it was just so goofy but fun and just like so fitting and very Sam Raimi. I just love that.
I have to add, just for more context, that when the version of him who tried to kill America ends up dead, they bury him under like cement.
Yeah,
so
like
he basically rises him up and then like possesses him, and he is a zombie, and at some points he winks and he's like, it's just so funny. It's like a horror.
Yeah.
It's totally like the Evil Dead scenes.
Yeah, it was so similar. If you're coming in expecting like some kind of earth-shattering Marvel moments or like another Infinity War, like, no, this is a standalone Doctor Strange movie, and it was a really good self-contained story, honestly. How would you compare it to some of our favorite Marvel movies? Because I know we love Infinity War, we love Endgame, and we love Thor Ragnarok. How does it do you think it was better than Thor?
Right now, yeah, it was definitely better than Thor.
Really?
I think we should go through characters and kind of like talk about the main characters.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell us what happens to Doctor Strange, and what do you think worked and didn't work for his character in this movie?
Okay. What really worked for him in this movie is the fact that he sees different versions of himself. He doesn't really interact with any other version of himself except for the last world that he goes to, which is this world that's crashing with another universe. Doctor Strange there has 3 eyes, and he's all bad and evil, and he's almost like a psychopath. It's like 2 different people, even though they look the same, because the bad Doctor Strange in that world wants to trade Christine for the book. And I should say there is this big love interest, like unrequited love going on in this whole film, which is that in the beginning of the film, Christine gets married to someone else. Doctor Strange apologizes to Christine for the way he was and says like he loved her. He wished he could have done better. Christine basically says, Rachel McAdams' character says it would have never worked out between them because Doctor Strange had to always be the one holding the knife. So he had to always be the center of attention, be the one who was dominating more. Yeah. And Christine was a powerful woman in her own right, so it just wouldn't work because they were too alike, and they wanted to both be in the front seat basically. And in every world that he goes to, they have a very complicated relationship that's almost undefined, but that
Doctor Strange is unloved in every universe.
Yeah, exactly. Doctor Strange dies. The bad Doctor Strange dies, and it's really funny because he dies near Rachel McAdams' character, and then just when he's dead, the evil eye just goes and it just scares Rachel McAdams' character. So I thought that was funny. What I thought was really good that worked really, really well was when he possesses a dead body, there's a bunch of demons that come out, and it's like, you're not allowed to possess a dead body. Rachel's character is like, you can use them. And then Doctor Strange is like, yeah, I can use them. So he uses them as
that was a great moment.
Different hands.
And he reins them in. And
and it was just so comedic. You have to watch that scene. It was just funny. That's when it turned into like a horror comedy for me.
Oh, it's already that way for me, but yeah.
But that's when it literally solidified itself as a horror comedy.
When the bad Doctor Strange falls from the the building, and lands on the fence,
Yeah.
and then opens his eye.
Yeah.
To me, that's like so.
That's true. That is very true.
That was great.
Yeah.
I still want to see him go through like a tougher thing, because I think that this movie was really more about Wanda's character arc. She was the focus. Her resolution was like the main thing. Doctor Strange is still kind of like a side character in his own movies. Even I think Doctor Strange works best when he's in other people's movies too, like in Spider-Man, in the Infinity War. I don't know. I feel like the reason why this movie was a lot better was because Wanda was in this. She was a great antagonist. So let's talk about Wanda as a character. I feel a lot of people are complaining that she was not treated well in this movie. They feel like she reverted from WandaVision, and people are saying that it kind of had some bad tropes in it. So what do you think?
I was really shocked that Wanda was the villain and she actually went to the extreme that she did. She legit killed people. She legit was she had no boundaries.
She was like Thanos level.
Yeah, and then she was trying to be nice, but her niceness was her killing an innocent girl, America, and her meanness was her trying to kill like every single thing and being like overtaking the world. Like, yes, she was definitely motivated by loss of her kids, but I think she used her kids to disguise how corrupted she really was because of the book. Because she was talking about like, I can rule the world, or you could tell that even after she has kids, like she wanted to change the world and everything else. She wanted to kind of keep her kids hostage because she talked about like, what if they're sick? It's like, kids have to die sometime. Like everyone dies sometime. It was about what she wanted and not what her kids wanted. She couldn't see that she was hiding behind her love for her kids, which was genuine and which was real. There was more to it than that. There was a pure corruption of character.
The book is corrupting her, so it's kind of an excuse to be like, well, she's not crazy all of a sudden. Like, she's being motivated by this dark force. So there's hope for her in the future. I think there's no possible way she's dead. But I don't know when we'll see her next. I think people would be kinder to this movie and would have had more realistic expectations for the movie if they had called it Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch, or Doctor Strange versus the Scarlet Witch, instead of calling it Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
But I think
because so many people were like, oh, this is going to be all about world hopping, which it really wasn't, because he only goes to like a couple of universes, really. They pass briefly through others, but it's not really about the multiverse in this movie, even though there's cameos. It's about Doctor Strange versus Wanda, really, and there's multiverse elements, but I think that the marketing and maybe the movie would be more warmly received if people had their expectations like, this is Doctor Strange and Wanda going against each other, and it's not about bringing in all these outside elements.
I completely disagree.
Okay.
I think that Doctor Strange and Wanda, first of all, would have kind of given away that it's Doctor Strange versus Wanda.
I think that would have been fine. I don't think that's
I like the reveal. I like the reveal of how bad Wanda could really get, because Wanda is a hero in every other movie. So I like that reveal. Okay. Also, I don't agree with you. I think it was about hopping universes and it was about multi-universe. I just think it also happened to be about Wanda being bad.
No, you're right. I just think in terms of a marketing perspective,
America was the person who, by the way, there's no one like America. There's no different version of her, because in the movie they say that people who dream are actually dreaming about other versions of themselves.
I have some really weird versions of myself out there.
And America never dreams, and she doesn't have any other version of herself. So America is very unique, which is why Wanda wants America. Yeah, I felt like the whole reason America goes into different universes, that's her power, her ability to transport into different universes.
That's fair. I mean, I get it. I just think in terms of like fan expectations, changing the title would have helped, but I think it's a fine title. I also thought that they brought the story to a nice conclusion, and it actually made it feel like I wanted to watch it again. Like, there were scenes where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch that on YouTube, or when that comes out, I definitely want to watch it again. There were some really memorable, fun moments.
I will say that Doctor Strange and Wanda, I never realized the similarities they have. And I think that's also what they were trying to portray.
That's true,
was
yeah.
that they're both so capable of being corrupted, and they both think they're right. And that's like Wanda calls out like Doctor Strange for his hypocrisy.
Yeah, they're good contrast, good characters to go against each other.
Yeah, and then I also liked how Doctor Strange bows to the Supreme Leader
at the end. Yeah,
at the end,
nice.
It's kind of like him showing that he's let go of his ego.
That's his big character arc, is growing more humble, kind of like Tony. He's very much like Tony Stark.
He is. Yeah, exactly. And I think like Wanda sacrificing herself and destroying the bad book from every universe so that no one else can be corrupted by it again was also of her letting go of her ego, being less selfish. And I don't think she's dead. I agree that I think that she's definitely going to come back. It's going to be a fun, interesting to see how they make her come back.
Yeah, I'll be very interested in that. So America's character, I really enjoyed. I thought she was a great addition. She worked really well with Doctor Strange. She basically has these powers that she can't control, and she blames herself for the loss of her moms. And by the end, she's wanting to sacrifice herself because she's like, it's not worth it. Like, clearly my powers are just like, I'm being hunted down. Like, my powers are harmful. I can't control them. No one can control them. Like, it's better if Doctor Strange just takes them and is responsible with them. And Doctor Strange is like, no, you have the power. You can control it. Trust yourself. And it was kind of like having a nice little hero origin story without the baggage of an entire movie. She is kind of like a hero origin story nestled within another character story, which I thought worked really well because it just filled up the movie a little more. There was a nice dynamic between them, and I look forward to seeing more from her character.
Yeah, I think that like America's trauma of not being able to control her power as an adult really comes from her not being able to control her power when she was a child, when she like accidentally opened a portal and she accidentally teleported her family to who knows where. I think Doctor Strange kind of like played a father figure at the end by letting her just make her own decisions, by giving her the freedom and the confidence to say that you can control your destiny, you can control your powers, nothing that you have done was accidental. I think you're just overdoubting yourself basically.
And she starts training with them.
So let's talk about the post-credit scene and let's just talk about like where
there were two. Let's talk about the most important one and the best one, making everyone wait in the theater just to show more Bruce Campbell punching himself.
Yeah.
It was very Evil Dead, when Ash Williams' hand is possessed, and it was like the same kind of thing, and he finally looks at the camera and says like, it's over or something.
Yeah, it's really funny. I do want to talk about the other scene,
the one that actually matters to the universe. Like, that was just like a fun one, but the one that matters to the whole universe was the one where Doctor Strange is walking and he's visited by someone who says that he created an incursion and he's in trouble. Basically, her name is Clea. She wears purple. We learn, I guess her name is Clea, played by Charlize Theron. Yeah, so that's just the post-credit scene. We didn't really know who that was. We did some research afterwards.
And Doctor Strange goes with Clea
to this other place. We don't know what it is, but it definitely seems like it's leading to more multiverse stuff. Clea, I guess, is an important character in the comics who ends up marrying Doctor Strange.
Yeah, she's the Doctor Strange's main love interest, which makes sense. Christine and Doctor Strange have basically left off saying that they're never gonna, like, it's not gonna work. The Christine who's not married is not gonna go back to Doctor Strange's universe with him, to be with him. So it's kind of like, okay, they're not gonna work in any universes. However, I do have a little bit of beef about that.
Okay. Beef it out.
Because I felt like it just was like a horrible way to introduce a love interest that is supposed to be his final love interest. Like, I wish there was a little bit more romanticism there.
Maybe in this one, they won't have her as a love interest. Maybe, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, I honestly, right now, I'm seeing like 2 seconds of this new character, but like Christine is much better fit for Doctor Strange. The Christine from a different universe.
You literally have no idea who she is, even though
I just hate the way that they introduced.
But you didn't even know that she's going to be the love interest. So why would you if you didn't know
exactly.
that? But you don't have to know that instantly. It can come later on. Why would you need to know that instantly?
Because I wanted to be sparks.
Oh, come on.
It was just like kind of like sparkless.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought it was good. I mean, it was just like a tease of like, oh, something. I don't know. I didn't think it was the best post-credit scene in the Marvel movie.
I didn't exactly.
Didn't
I
do
didn't
much for me.
This is basically good point to stop. We recommend it. Please go watch it. Leave your thoughts below.
Very good. If you like fun horror comedy or something different in like Marvel movies, then check it out.
If you watch Marvel movies in the past and thought like it was boring or repetitive, then I definitely recommend you watch this one because it definitely changes everything up, and the director is a big part of that.
Thank you for watching, everyone.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.